Tell me about your trip.
It was actually a lot of fun. I mean, I didn't go. So we went to San Francisco on Saturday to the basketball game because Justin was playing for sectional. And they played University out of San Francisco. I thought Justin was expensive, but University cost like $51,000 a year to go to. And they were a good team. Justin was tied with them at halftime. They were with him most of the third quarter, and kind of going into the end of the third quarter, they got a little separation. University, and they were a good team. They were good, but they played at, which was kind of cool. A lot of people were like, "Oh, it was at Kezar Pavilion down there,
yeah,
right next to Kezar Stadium, where the 49ers and then the Warriors used to play back in the day, probably ABA days at Kezar. So it's like old school, like bleachers, old school gym. But the floor, everybody says is look really cool because it's like spring loaded.
Oh,
Because it's raised. I mean, the floor looked nice. The basketball acoustics were like horrible. The guy was on the PA and it sounded like whoa, 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 the whole time. So that part was weird, but it's a good game. We had fun. Went down early. Sophie took a few of her friends, and we got pizza down there at a place right on the corner, which the owner was super cool. So that was fun. But then I had to get up at I had a 6 a.m. flight on Sunday morning, so I had to get up at like 3 o'clock. Leave at 3:30
to see Bruce Springsteen.
Well,
And your son.
Well, it was more Sun on Sunday because this concert wasn't actually until Monday night. So I went early on Sunday to I was like, well, we'll hang out. It'll be cool. We'll hang out most of the day and do whatever. And so it's funny. So I got up early. Flight went fine. Got off, and you can take. The good thing about Seattle, even a little easier in some respects, is they have like public transportation pretty good, like San Francisco, but they have light rail station that goes right from the airport through downtown San Francisco or downtown Seattle all the way in the campus. Because the campus, UW campus on the north side of Seattle, still considered Seattle, but it's like 10 minutes from downtown. And got off, but I get on, I get on the light rail, and I send Nick a message like, all right, I'm on light rail. I'll be there in about 40 minutes when you stop at all the stops. And I hear nothing. I'm like, okay. Because I gotten in at the flight got in by 8 by the time I walked out. Train was probably 8:30. I got on the train. So I was going to be there a little after 9, probably about 9:15. And about 3 stops before, I'm just about to call him. Oh, hey, Pops. I thought you were leaving at 8, not getting in at 8.
Oh, God.
Tell a little college student, I can tell, oh, it's Sunday,
I'm not ready for you.
I'm not ready yet. He's like, okay, I'll pull myself together. Don't worry, I'll get... I go, all right, how about there's this really cool kind of coffee house, breakfast place that we had gone the last time we were there. It was really cool, called Leon's. And so I'm like, how about I'll just meet, because it's right by where you get off the light rail. I'm like, I'll meet you there. He's like, okay, I'll meet you down there. I won't be that far. I'll be quick. So he did. He was excited about me coming, I think, because I think he's after midterms, so he didn't have any tests going on. So he was full in, we're hanging out. I was like, that's awesome. I was super excited.
So you cleaned up all the beer bottles and got everything out of
I didn't even care. I mean, it was like, I was in college. I get it.
That's what I'm saying. I missed that experience.
Yeah.
You just anything important going on today?
Right.
Do I need to know what time frame it happens? Yeah. And then I'm just going to fly by the seat of my pants, buddy. AM, PM is no difference.
But he's a typical college kid. He's doing great. I'm like, I got off the plane, and, it's been kind of crappy weather here, but it was like crappy weather plus a little bit there, because, in Seattle, it's kind of like San Francisco. The water and the oceans and the bays kind of temperate, so it doesn't usually get that cold, but there was snow. So I walk out, and I'm like, oh, crap, it snowed last night. And so I get off the plane, I walk up to the station, and I'm just like, fuck, it's cold out here. oh my God. And I turn around, they're like de-icing planes at the airport. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be miserable. And then, of course, here's my son. You know, he meets me at the little coffee shop, and he's got a T-shirt on. He's got kind of this heavier sort of jacket. Not a puffy jacket, just kind of. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm freezing.
How long were you there? You came
I just went Sunday, Monday, and then I came home yesterday. Got home yesterday afternoon, mid-afternoon.
So how was the concert?
Concert was super cool. Funny. Like, I like Bruce Springsteen, but I don't know, like, all of his, like, original stuff as much. You know, I know, like, his mainstream stuff. And I know the piece, but, like, people were into it. Nick, first of all, goes, God, I'm like the youngest guy here. You know, it was a much older crowd, right? The guy's 73. So, you know, yeah, you're going to attract that. But super fun. It was at the Climate Pledge Arena, which is where the hockey team, the new hockey team in Seattle plays, the Kraken. And that place is super awesome. And it's right there by the Space Needle. So we went down in the afternoon because he had class in the morning. He's like, well, let's just go hang out. So we went down to hang out by the Space Needle, and we went to the Pop Culture, which is like the Pop Culture Rock and Roll Museum, which we've been to before. He didn't remember going there. We went there a while ago, but it's super cool. I don't know if you've ever gone there. You would like it. You'd be all into it. So it has a little bit of a Seattle, like the, you know, so they have a whole, like their ongoing thing is like Jimi Hendrix thing. There's a, is it Pearl Jam? Yeah, Pearl Jam, like exhibition. There's a Nirvana one, because so it's all like the iconic Seattle.
The sound of our youth.
Right. And then they have other things that are kind of in there. So they had like random stuff like about like horror film thing. It was kind of weird. But then they have all these other music studio things. You'd be into it.
I feel like Bruce Lee's from Seattle, or had like
he
a
is.
big Seattle footprint.
Yeah.
And then when I was a kid,
he's buried in some cemetery right there in Seattle or something.
Yeah. I'll never forget, like, probably like 6th or 7th grade. I don't remember, but like sitting there, and it was when MTV played music, I would go downstairs, hit the TV, and watch the music videos in the morning.
Yeah.
And it was either channel 30, I can't remember, 39 was MTV and 40 was like VH1.
Right.
Like
when they actually played videos.
Yeah, and like I would go back and forth. VH1 was like the soft rock and old whatever, and like it had pop-up video or whatever, where it had like little trivia facts.
Yeah.
That's where like I learned a lot of my music trivia. And then, but I won't forget, I was sitting there eating cereal, and the TV was on, and Pearl Jam, Even Flow came on, and I remember getting up and walking over to the TV and being like, "Wow, that sounds awesome!"
Right.
And that was like the same time that Nirvana had "Smells Like Teen Spirit" on, Even Flow, Jeremy, all like big controversial music videos. What else happened at the time? My buddy Mike Tyner, I went to his house, and he played for me. He's like, "Got some new CDs." And I was like, sweet.
Yeah.
He like put on Rage Against the Machine,
the
first album, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Right.
And then he had like Slayer, Seasons of the Abyss, and like I just feel like that time, like just my head exploded with killer music. So Seattle is a cool place.
Yeah, it's cool scene, and it's good. Like Nick is all about music, right? And like he's almost become kind of like funny, like, and it's not just like he's all about the new stuff, and some of the new stuff I'm like, I don't know that group.
Yeah.
But he's also into like a lot of the older, cooler stuff. Like in his dorm room, he has like part of like what he put up is everybody puts the, Bob Marley, but he has like these cool like things where it's all like iconic old like posters from different like rock tours and different things, like some cool ones. And so he's pretty into music. He was like, my friends just don't know Pearl Jam. I don't get it. I love Pearl Jam. They're awesome and da-da-da-da-da. And so it was fun to go with him. We had a good time. Probably, I guess my wife might see this, but we had some fun a little bit before the concert. And
alcohol?
Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. And so it was funny because he's chatting away and we got yelled at once because we had these really cool seats. So I don't know if you saw my pictures at all. So like I got them last minute. I didn't get the tickets till January. So they're on StubHub. So I like looked and the floor were expensive, and all the other ones are way up in the arena. And I'm like, okay, these ones are behind the stage, but it looked like the stage is kind of offset, and these are on the lower bowl. And then they were like I forget what they call them, but they were like a they were like a section that's like right as you go into the out onto the mezzanine, where all the alcohol and foods vendors are, but they had like a little tabletop, and you sat in this, so they weren't the seats. And I'm like, oh, those are kind of cool because you can put your drink or your food right there, and they were right there. So when we got there, I was like, oh gosh, he's like right there. So like there was only like 6 or 7 rows in front of us, and then it was like the back of the stage. And so we were like, boom, right there. And he was pretty good. Sure, he played more that way, but they totally turned around. He played, even he's a performer, right?
Yeah.
And amazing. At 73, he played a little less than 3 hours and just the whole time. Boom, 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 from one side. Never like stopped, a little bit of talking, but just the whole time.
Was the encore Born in the USA?
No, he didn't play that. He
all?
didn't play that one.
Wow. It's like his biggest commercial hit.
Right. So, it was fun. And all the people around us, like this couple next to us, they were totally into it. And they're like, oh, we've been 30 times. And,
Oh, my God.
And before the concert, it was funny. We ran into, do you know Robin Bright from the radio?
Yeah.
So her daughter went to school with Nick, and she had seen, I guess I put something on Facebook, and she's like, we're here too. And she was with another lady that's moved from Napa, but so her daughter went with Nick. And they're like, we're right here, where are you? And this is before we went in the arena, so we met up with them, and they're like, we've seen, Robin's like, I've seen him 16 times, so shout out to Robin.
Yeah.
So
She's also Isabel's substitute kindergarten teacher.
okay.
Whenever her teacher hurt her back, and Robin was the
So Robin was up there too with a friend, and so they were kind of joking, but we got yelled at by the couple in front of us. It's loud, right? It's a concert. We were just having fun. Everybody's having fun around us, and Nick and I are joking. We're like, Seattle, the iconic, not like In-N-Out, but up there is Dick's Hamburgers, Dick's, and like it's even been like Jimmy Fallon has a whole thing about like get a bag of dicks. You ever had a bag of dicks? And so we're making jokes like, oh, we gonna go get a bag of dicks after? And this was like the concert wasn't quite over yet. And this lady, and because people were into it. Like I didn't really realize this whole like going to church with the boss. Like because people start like putting their arms up like they're like in church. Like, and I was like, Nick's like, wow, this is like cool but kind of weird. Like people are like, they look like they're praying to Bruce. But the lady in front of us turned her like, there's a concert going on. And we're like, yeah, we know. We're having fun too. And I'm like, oh, geez, really?
ruining the experience for the people.
I know. I guess we were talking about a bag of dicks. She didn't like it. I'm like, it's hamburgers. It's Dick's Hamburgers.
I guess I've never seen Bruce Springsteen. I had Born in the USA, the cassette, by way of a cousin, because we, on and off, all the cousins lived at my grandpa's house. And there was the old two-deck boombox above a refrigerator in the garage, and like when you got out on the step, you were like eye level with the top of the fridge, and then we had like stacks of cassettes. And there was I can like it's imprinted in my head.
Where it was
Born in the USA,
right.
And then Licensed to Ill was right underneath it. I can't remember what other tapes were up there, but we would like play that. And I mean, I wasn't really into it. And then the other, I don't know, I was younger, and the other mind blowing experience. Somebody was like, oh yeah, Bruce Springsteen plays Blinded by the Light. I'm like, that's not Bruce Springsteen. And then I was like, it was before like Wikipedia, and I'm like looking through albums at my mom's. I'm like, no way, or I can't remember where it was. And then I was like, no, it's not. And then sure enough, Bruce Springsteen wrote the song, and I can't remember who played it now. Man, I keep on wanting to say it's ELO, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's like, oh god, Jeff Fletcher would kill me for not
I know.
knowing the name of this band. That was their hit anyway. And then I saw an interview later, and Bruce Springsteen's like, I'll never let anybody cover my hit. And I was like, cover a song of mine.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, their cover was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Because when I heard him sing it, it's like a Irish drunk folk song, and I'm just like, I'm not into this.
Right. Well, I thought the coolest thing too is,
Manfred Mann's band. Manfred Mann's.
That was who covered it.
That's who covered it.
Oh.
Man.
Well, we were just at that one show for, at Uptown, in the opener there. Who was that? We just saw a couple weeks ago, and he covered, like, quickly one of Bruce Springsteen's songs. I was like, and I'm like, what? He's covering, and then it was funny because a couple next to us was like, we're going to see Bruce. I'm like, what? I'm going to see Bruce in 2 weeks. And they were going in Denver, and it was, like, funny. They were going to see him in Denver. And I was like, oh, I'm going out to Seattle. But, yeah, he covered, like one of his songs. I was like, what? It was weird. It was random. But you know what the coolest part I thought too is it's the whole E Street Band part. Like he's got like it's him and but then it's like guitar, but he's got the whole like percussion, like two different percussions with like bongos and stuff, and they had like kind of a percussion duel off, and then he's got like all the instruments of like saxophones and trumpets and trombones and they they do all kinds of cool things too. And then of course there's the backup singers and two different like piano, organ, keyboards. So it was like this big band stage, so it really made dramatic.
With the E Street Band's rad because Max Weinberg is usually the drummer.
Yeah,
he was the drummer.
Maybe because everybody got really excited because he's like old now too.
Yeah, he was the drummer on Conan O'Brien. He had to like the band on like he was Conan O'Brien, one of the late night shows. So Max Weinberg's like a famous drummer. Came from the E Street Band. Of course, the guitar players in The Sopranos.
Okay.
And like all those guys like have their own kind of.
Yeah, like the saxophone guy everybody was into him. And I guess it was his birthday because he kept coming up and doing like solo things with Bruce. And then like at the beginning, people held up like signs, "Happy Birthday, Jake." I guess his name is Jake something or other. Man. But he was involved a lot. Like in terms of like coming up and playing.
That tour is gonna come here to San Francisco.
Yeah, but not till the end of the year, like December.
So now I kind of want to go.
It was fun. I had a good time. It was a good environment.
I don't know all of Springsteen's catalog, but I do.
I didn't either.
I do love it,
but it was still fun.
I thought his halftime performance was awesome.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking about that this year because Rihanna did it. I feel like everybody's got to make some huge statement now when they do it. But I remember some of my favorite ones were like bands. I mean, look, I don't have any of Bruce Springsteen's albums. I've listened to it all.
Yeah, I think I probably had a tape.
But I was like, man, this is a great halftime show. People probably murder me for they hate it or something. I thought Tom Petty was a rad halftime show. I thought Prince was like unreal. I always thought Santana needed a spot in a halftime show because he had like, of course I'll remember, the Raiders played in 2002. He was like the opener, like before him and Michelle Branch did it. And I was like, man, this guy should be the halftime show. But
you're like, but they don't listen to me. Why don't they listen to me?
Because everybody's pop is
because they're like, who's Paul Everett? Right. We're not listening to that guy.
We don't care about that guy. I'd be really into it. I'd be like the one person out there totally like, yeah, this is amazing, but it doesn't sell.
I mean, it felt a little bit like one of those ones that just kind of say, I saw Bruce Springsteen, because at Bottle Rock I saw Tom Petty before, like later that year he died, so you felt like I saw Tom Petty before he passed away.
I drove. So the same kind of thing. Right before the pandemic, the Stones played in at the Santa Clara Stadium, and I was like, oh, tell Alexis, I'm like, you want to go? And she's like, no, not really. And I was like, okay. So I got a ticket.
Yeah, I've never seen Santana. That would be one of those ones too.
What was the Stones? Oh, so I've seen Santana, but it was the Stones. Sorry.
Oh, it was okay.
The Stones were playing the Niner Stadium, and she was like, no, I'm not really into it. We had gone once to Las Vegas. Flew to Las Vegas. My buddy had a box for us to see the Stones at the new the hockey arena, the Knights, the Golden Knights.
Yeah,
and we were like amazing. My buddy's really involved in casinos, and he got us a penthouse car. So we were like
high rollers.
Amazing.
You're like, oh hey, look at me.
We flew in, and our penthouse was here. My buddy's penthouse was here. And my buddy is like a rock and roll guy, like rock and roll. And it's kind of a funny story because, like, we wake up that morning and Alexis and I are like, "Oh my god, we're gonna see the Stones tonight!" And we're super pumped. And my buddy's like, kind of like half in the bag from the night before because we went out late, and he was just like, fuck, and he threw the paper, and Mick Jagger canceled last minute for laryngitis. So we were like, what? So I was like, oh, Elton John's playing somewhere. We couldn't get tickets. Everything was sold out. Everybody went somewhere else. So we ended up seeing Billy Idol that night.
Okay, well, that's a good one, too.
It was kind of a hard...
Not quite, but up there,
The scale was like... We made it through, and we were like, okay, 63-year-old, Idol singing Man Without a Face. I can't remember the song. And I was just like, but it was rad. We flew back home. Anyway, so that's why Stones are coming. I'm like, Alexis, we got to go. And by this time, we had kids, and she's like, I don't know if I feel like going. And so I was like, well, I don't know how long they're going to be around. So I went by myself and saw them, and then Charlie Watts died, like shortly after that. Whoa, weird. I didn't even move that, and it broke. Wow. That's cool.
That was cool. Nobody knows what the hell we're talking about, but that was cool.
Yeah,
Something just fell off the shelf, so that was
Ghost
cool.
just knocked it over.
Yeah.
Charlie Watts Ghost.
Whoa.
And then I did that too. She's over it. When we first started dating, I drug her to all the shows. But now she's just like, she's got pretty good boundaries.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, Eric Clapton's coming to San Francisco.
I like Eric Clapton. Megan isn't so big.
I was like, you want to go? She's like, no.
Yeah.
So I bought a ticket and went by myself, and I saw Clapton.
Yeah.
The segue I think that I was thinking of for the Stones, which is funny, is my uncle Rudy is an electrician, but he was part of the remodel of the Concord Pavilion.
Okay.
He did all the sound and lights.
Okay.
So he did like Paul McCartney's '89 tour, and they would load the trucks up, do Metallica, Day on the Green, and so he's got like all these epic rock stories.
Yeah.
But I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm going to see the Stones. I mean, they might not make it. And he's like, comically, he's super funny. He looked at me and went, in 1989, I did the Steel Wheels tour.
Yeah.
And we were convinced they weren't going to make it. And those guys are still here.
I know.
And
I haven't seen them. Never seen them.
And they were epic. And I was like, so was Eric Clapton. But
Yeah.
I guess everybody has that feeling like this might be the last, especially
Right.
that era.
Right.
Where they're like barely holding on,
Yeah.
drugs and alcohol, chicks, guys, whatever, just like mayhem,
Right.
and rock and roll. And they're like, yeah, let's do it.
Well, Bruce, I was like, and even Nick was like, I was like, damn, that guy's like going. He's like got his shirt open. I'm like, damn, I'm getting fat. I gotta do something. This guy's like 25 years older than me. Like, God, I suck. Get in the gym,
Crushing
fat
it.
ass.
Yeah. Well, he did I don't know if you watched the Super Bowl when he did. I kind of was like, oh, he does like a run across the stage. It does the splits and slides on his knees towards the camera.
Oh, yeah, he
And
did
I
do
was just,
that.
like, waiting for like,
Couldn't get up.
a torn hammy or
Right.
a pulled
Like,
muscle.
also,
I'm like-
paramedics are coming out.
I was like, oh god, there we go. But that's
The
rock-
box, like,
yeah.
cut
He
the
was
commercial.
feeling it.
Yeah.
I was like,
I mean, he was pretty into it. He played Portland, I know, the weekend before, I think, or Saturday or something like that. I don't know. But so, I mean, he's moving. He's going. It's an international tour, so he's going international. Then he comes back at the end of the year.
we should go.
San Francisco.
You've
That's
already
fine.
seen it. You're done.
I know, it was fun. It was good.
It's expensive.
It was a good time.
So what are we going to talk about in this podcast?
Oh, I don't know. I thought we were talking.
We are, but I was just
Yeah,
thinking
I
about
mean,
going
we're just rambling. I don't know. We haven't really figured that out. We got to figure out different subjects to talk about, I guess.
people to interview.
Oh, that's what we need to interview people because then we can kind of make it more fun.
Steal all the speakers.
But we need to find cool people that we know that
are funny.
are funny and make it fun for everybody.
Jeff Fletcher would be into it.
Yeah, would he?
Yeah,
We'd have to get him going.
it's not hard.
Sometimes, Jeff's on stage is different than his off stage.
Just talk rock and roll.
I know. He talks us in circles, or he talked me in circles.
Yeah,
I love music. I don't know
just tell
every
him you love
little
the
nuance.
Smiths and Morrissey, and tell him you love The Cure, and he'll go off. I promise you.
I know, but then Megan likes to say, "Boys don't cry." And I'm like, I do. So it happens. Yeah, it's like it's always like because Megan's cousin Dennis. You know Dennis.
Yeah, I don't know him, but
he's in the music and knows like every obscure thing and like knows this band, and so him and like Fletcher are always like kind of the same mold about knowing. I've never gotten into like the details and know every song, or I know this song, but I can't remember who the artist is.
I don't know. My buddy that I worked with, Charlie, was the guy that passed away a couple weeks ago. He was like Wikipedia before Wikipedia for like classic rock mantra. So like every day it was like a song would come on, and then like he would air guitar, and then he was like,
Yeah.
in 1974, Sammy Hagar met up with Montrose, and then it was like you're like what, and like just all this information, and it's like. I was like, you're like the liner notes.
Right.
Of the old record liner notes, like all the information. He had it down, man. That's how I learned a lot about that stuff. And then now, I think it's probably from people like you're just hanging out and just telling stories. People like Jeff.
Yeah,
Good part about Jeff is he will be like, nope, never heard that, or I don't know. Like he
like he'll own it.
I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But then sometimes he'll get me. I'm like, oh, I don't know who this is. He's like, what?
Right.
You don't know? Who
It is funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it was funny. Like I kind of in high school had a job where we listened to like classic rock, right? And Megan was either like 90s, 80s, 90s, like you're saying, the Smiths, The Cure, Depeche Mode. Like she knows all those. And then she's the other, like, because her parents, a lot of her family, and her dad was all in the country, in classic country, and so she's way in the country. But like, I never really listened to country, really. I got more into it because of her. but it's like this funny piece where like I'll bring up a classic rock. It'll be a classic rocker, like a Stone song, and she'll be like, "What is this?" I'm like, "What do you mean? What you've never heard it? It doesn't ring a bell." And I'll be like, "What?" And, but there's certainly like country ones where like classic, country of. I mean, I can't even think of like some of the like
Merle Haggard,
like Merle Haggard and I'll be like, "Yeah, I've never heard this," And she knows. So it's just funny what you kind of grow up and listening to or get into or whatever. But
here's a good story about the things you don't know about people or their past. Oh, another one. I was like, Alexis, I scored tickets to see James Taylor and Carole King in Oakland. Do you want to go? And she's like, no, I don't really want to go. And I'm like, okay. So I call my buddy Joe Brown, and Joe's like this beastly carpenter dude.
Yeah.
And like just, we're going to Oakland. Well, do I need to bring protection? The bats are, you know what I mean? Like he's just like this big burly guy. Anyway, so like we go and we're sitting next to each other, and it's like reduced seating. It's pretty intimate in the lower bowl. Like all the uppers are
at the Coliseum or at the arena?
Inside the arena.
Oh, arena.
So there's no seats up high. It's all
okay.
lower bowl. And it was awesome. And I mean, I didn't go for Carole King, James Taylor. I listened to just a lot of it when I was a kid in the background. I was like, yeah. So Carole King sings, and I look over at Joe, and there's tears coming down his eye. And I was like, Joe, are you okay? He's like, man, this is the music my mom used to play, and I didn't even know, and all these songs. I was like, oh, God, buddy, you're going to be okay. It's just like, he was like, I didn't expect this. I didn't know. And I was just like, here you go. They had the magic of music.
Yeah, I mean, that's the cool thing. Is I don't know. It's funny. Like, I hear people like bottle rock, and I don't know how you are about bottle rock, but I'm always like, it's kind of twofold for me. I mean, I'm kind of a people person. So, yeah, is there that, like, somebody like, I just don't like dealing with all the people in the crowds. And like, for me, I love, that's part of it, right? Just going to just seeing the people and the craziness and the, you could just say even the voyeurism of part of it. And then there's, like, people are like, yeah, I don't really like the lineup. And I'm like, I don't even care.
Yeah.
Because, like, for me, I'm like, there's always, like, people that I go and just, you're like, yeah, I may not know the words of all the songs, but I kind of go, yeah, that sounds cool. I like that. Or, oh, that brings out a certain emotion or gets you kind of into it. And so, like, it's funny when people are like, yeah, I'm not going. I didn't like the lineup. And then some people are like, yeah, I like the lineup. But I'm kind of like, no, I just like music.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll go. It's just fun.
Yeah. I think we're traveling this year during Bottle Rock weekend. And I actually think this year I was like, ooh, there's a bunch of bands I'd really love to see. I mean, I love the atmosphere too. And I'm really excited for my kids to grow up with something to do in Napa.
Right.
So I don't care. And especially if it's involved in music. I mean, they're young, so I don't know. Festivals sometimes stop after some number of years. So hopefully it keeps going. Yeah. But Isabel's 6 this year. So it's like time to go bring her out and adventure around. So the festival vibe would be cool. And it's a way more relaxed festival than I used to going to in the past.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Last year I just went, I think it was last year. I just went one day with Jeff to see 2 bands, and that was one that opened for Metallica. Metallica. Yeah. The one that always tours, Greta Van Fleet. And I'm not a big fan, but I was like, cool. I heard 10 minutes of them.
Of who, Greta?
Greta. And
the kids were like, Nick was like totally in, and even Sophia was like, yeah, I get it. Like, I was kind of like, okay, cool. He does this thing up there. And but I was like, okay, yeah. But yeah, it's funny. I got caught because Fletcher told me to go see, and it sounds so like it should be canceled, but it's like White Reaper. Oh, so he told me, you gotta go see these guys. The name doesn't really mean what, but their name is really bad, but it's White Reaper. So, of course, they played on the smallest stage, and I think they're out of like San Diego or something. So they played in the afternoon on one day, and Fletcher was the one who was like, yeah, you gotta go see them. And he put something on like a Facebook post or something. And so I probably had a few cocktails. Go figure. And so I kept going, like, I don't know, an hour before they were going to be on. We were over the main stage. I just kept going, we got to go see White. And, like, people around us. And so everywhere I would, like, walk to go to concessions or where, I'd be like, hey, are you guys going to White Reaper at 3? So, like, people with me were like, oh, my God. So then when we finally started, he was on, we, like, kind of went, and they were in that, small stage kind of at the front entrance. And I'm like, hey, as we're walking, everybody, White Reaper, come on. And it was totally Fletcher that like, they go watch him.
This week that actually he went. We were talking about him a lot. It's good. Have to bring him on.
I know, we should.
He went and saw him at in Petaluma, I think, and then he played a video, and then I was like, all right, I'll put it on my Spotify to listen to. And I listened to it, and I was like,
Are you talking White Reaper?
White Reaper.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is like 70s dueling
Yeah.
guitar with like some kind of newer vibe to it and
Right.
feel, and I was like, I'm into it.
Yeah.
So
they weren't bad,
Yeah.
from what I remember. But it came up, we're going to New York in 2 weeks for kind of like a surprise trip for Sophia, which she knows about, but she doesn't know. I guess I better not put this up, but she doesn't know her brother's going to fly out to meet us. It was funny. We were looking at stuff, and Megan's like, she was looking at things, and like, we're going to go to see Hamilton. That was a big part for Sophie. She wants to see it. But she was looking up other things going on. And she's like, you'll never guess who's in concert. You go, who? White Reapers in concert in New York. I'm like, we should go.
we gotta go.
It was funny because she knew the joke. So we'll get him on. He's a good one to get on. We'll have to think through like people to play along and have fun.
Dude, I keep thinking that we should take this thing to the driving range and have like chairs and just like almost just tell dad jokes.
We can. I mean, you can see this little hookup's pretty mobile.
And then like have a conversation with everybody, interview them, and then people can go off into the driving area, and then we can just talk trash about their swing.
Yeah,
because we all suck anyway. And
Right.
we're like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be like the lady in front of us. I can say, hey, you're going to get a bag of dicks. And then she'll turn around and yell at me.
We could go to Kyle Iverson's office and just film him just ready.
I'm supposed to go to his office this afternoon.
Because every time I go in there, it looks like he's going to go thermonuclear behind his desk. He's like,
Yeah, he stresses out. I feel bad for you guys. Sorry, Kyle.
Kyle,
You'll get there. We want you to be. It's all going to work out.
Yeah.
He's going to stuff another person in that office.
Thank God.
He called me. I was on Monday. He was my tech support. They had a little bit of issue because they'd moved stuff around, but got it all situated. He's good. You're good, Kyle. But yeah, we can find some good people. We can roam around. I mean, it may not have the unicorn coffee, but
I don't believe in humans. I feel like this is Megan's cup, but this is yours.
No, it actually Sophia won it, but I always use it.
Yeah.
Because Megan doesn't really drink coffee.
It's stout, and it's got a lot of coffee.
Yeah, and I just get to hold a unicorn.
Yeah.
So that part's nice. It looks normal. So, all right, well, more to come, right?
Yeah,
So
more to come.
We'll keep this going. Maybe we'll get some other friends that were supposed to be in this group to join us, but they're lame. We're
This is
cool.
our attempt at just getting going.
Yeah, we had that attempt before, but now that was good. That was good conversation.
I'm out.
What was the last thing before we go? Nick told me what's the guy from Hamilton that did the producer men's the
Louis Manuel.
yeah, Louis Manuel.
Manuel.
Like he
I
and
can't
his
remember.
friends had this joke that they you got Louis Manuel, and I'm like,
I don't think
what?
that's his name. I think it's Manuel something.
Yeah, something or other. And so it's an L though. I don't know if Sophia would laugh at me. Like, really, Dad?
Mm-hmm.
But there was this inside joke that they send pictures of each other with him. And so they sent it to him and then his roommates, because I took him to dinner, we're all like, oh. So I'm like, well, in that same vein, same initials, how about Leah Michelle? So I sent stuff. So Nick he got back to his dorm after we all I was staying in a little hotel right by the school, and so I sent him hey Nick, I forgot to tell you, and he's like, oh yeah, what? And I sent a picture of her, and this morning, I sent him a gift of her woo! And he's like, oh Dad, stop. So
We gotta do that.
I'll send you one when you're not expecting it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do little funny things. All right, well,
We're out.
that's our first of March. It's the Ides of March. Look at that. Bam.
Turn it on.